next thing you need to know about Excel is how to graph, graph. Why do you want to know how to graph? Because data representation is amazing. And we already saw at Gapminder World, right? Go to Gapminder.org and we go to Gapminder World, and then we check out Gapminder World here, and we go to full screen, which is loading. La, da, da, da. We go to full screen, which is right there. And over here we have life expectancy. Over here we have income per person. So this is the health, and the wealth of nations. And every ball is a nation. Here's India, here's China, here's the United States. The size of the ball represents the population, right? And in 2012, this is the year. And so we could see here real quickly a lot of really useful information from data that has been graphed. So visually representing data allows us to synthesize that data really quickly and really easily. Imagine if we were just to look at the data, go to data and search for like any of these pieces of data. If we just upload it, right, and open it, yes. And so if we were to open this data, like, oh, here are numbers, and numbers don't really do anything for us. That doesn't tell us anything. But if we actually look at images, you know, it's like, oh, that starts to tell me something. And we can look at how that's changed over the last 200 years, right? So how has humanity evolved over 200 years? And the representation of data is just absolutely amazing. It's amazing. And so we want to know how to graph things in Excel. We want to know how to graph things. So I can take all this data here and I could graph it. The first thing you need to know when you're graphing data is you want to select what you want to graph. So this is the data I want to graph. I don't want total before tax. I don't want tax on total. I don't want to graph that. I just want what the stores did in revenue every month. And you select the data, and you select the column headers and the row headers. So select the data, then select the column headers and the row headers. So if I only wanted to compare store 2 and 3, I would select that. And then I would hold down Control on my keyboard to select non-contiguously the column headers and the row headers, right? Like that. And if I was to go to graph this, which under Insert, we've got charts. They call it charts. I don't know why. All the way through K through 12, we called them graphs. And in college, we called them graphs. Excel calls them charts. Don't know why. So here are my charts, and I'm going to go for a line chart. And let's do that one. And there's my line chart, right? Series 1, 2, 3, 4. Didn't quite work out the way I was hoping. So I could delete that and then just try again. And let me select all of this and then go to Insert, Line Chart, and January, February, March, April, May, June. So that looks good. And then here's that. And notice how the data is selected differently, right? So it left out that top corner. So if I select these and then do this, holding down Control, and then that, let's see what happens when I do that one. So graphs are a little bit finicky, and you have to play with them. And again, it just says series 1, 2, 3, 4. It didn't quite pick up what I was hoping, that it would pick up the January, February stuff like that. So let's try that again. There, and that time it did. So for whatever reason, it didn't the first time, or the second time, third time, I got it right. So, you know, that's how I graph just store 2 and 3, and you can see store 2, store 3, the months, and then there's the dollar volumes, and it's based upon what I selected. I also had that cell when I selected it, though now it's not showing it, so it's a little bit tweaky. It just takes a little bit of trial and error to get it the way you want it. But the most important takeaway for you when it comes to creating graphs and charts is to select your data. First, select your data, and then select your column headers, and then select your row headers, and then just go to Insert and choose any of these charts and see what they look like. And you know, the last thing I'll say about all this is when you click on a chart, you could go up to Chart Tools, and you could say, I want it to look like that, or I want it to look like that, or I want it to look, and you could try these different looks. So that's you know, Chart Tools up there. So there's a lot to know about Excel. You've learned the fundamentals of what you need to know to start using it and using it effectively. You know how to enter formulas and write formulas. You know how to enter data. You know how to use autofill. You know how to use functions. You know the difference between relative and absolute references. And you know how to write absolute references by inserting the dollar sign. You know how to graph or chart things, depending upon if you want to call them graphs or charts. So that's like, that's right there. That's like in the game, that's the 80-20 rule. You've got 80% of what you need to know to use Excel. And also, please note that the skills you've learned and know from using other programs like font formatting or formatting paragraphs, right? Those things are going to transfer right to here, So that's a good thing, and copying and pasting. So you already know how to use all that stuff. And then also formatting cells as different types of numbers. We've learned that, and that's a big thing to know too. So you really know a lot about Excel with what you've just learned. But that doesn't mean that there's still not a ton of depth to this program, because there really, really, really is a lot of depth. And I really recommend this Udemy training, which I already showed you, which you could have for free access if you just enter the access code of student. You could take this course for free because I love you. I love you, man. I love you. And I want you to learn these skills so that you can rock it in the world, because Excel is something you need to know if you're anywhere, really. It's word processing is to words and Excel is to numbers. It's one of the basic things you really need to know in life, in computers, to do well, largely. It'll help you crunch numbers. It's good to know. And this training here, you can take this training, enter the free access code student, and what? You'll learn all about pivot tables. You'll learn about securing your worksheets. Pivot tables are huge, knowing how to use pivot tables. You learn about sorting data and getting data and parsing data. And, you learn more about functions and calculating with functions. So there's a lot of really good stuff in this training. And even if you don't have the time right now to take it, I recommend you go sign up, because I might not always have that access code there for student offering the course for free. So go sign up now. You'll have access for the rest of your life. And when you do get time, or when you do need to learn it, you could go take the training then. All right, that's Excel.